Welcome back to Kris versus everybody. I'm your host, Kris Canty. And this is the podcast where I talk about anything unedited, uncensored, unapologetic. No filters, no fluff, just real talk. This episode is brought to you by the Crisscross Studios YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit that follow button to stay up to date with every new episode as soon as it drops. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Now let's get into it. Y'all saw what happened on Christmas. The freaking Minnesota Vikings, a 53-man Grinch, stole the Detroit Lions fan base Christmas. Yes, it sucks to be a Lions fan right now. It really does. It always has sucked, even when we were 15-2. It sucked being a Lions fan because we knew something was going to happen. We knew that the Lions would fuck it up. We knew the Lions would get into their own heads. We knew that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were leaving last year. And somehow, some way, we knew that we weren't going to go to the playoffs this year. I knew we weren't going to go to the playoffs. I mean, I thought we were going to go, like, barely make it, like 10-7 or 9-8, 11-5, and possibly make it to the 7th or 6th seed. LA game happened. We got screwed. Pittsburgh game happened. We got screwed. And then Christmas happened. And we just, at that point, I knew that it wasn't going to be good. I watched Dunk the Halls on Disney Plus for 3 full quarters with my daughter. And I only watched like 1/4 of the Lions game. That's how bad. That's how much I didn't care about the goddamn Detroit Lions. Like, this is bad. It's bad when you're looking forward to watching the Pistons in December. It's bad that I have to now scramble to find a subscription for FanDuel Sports so I can watch the Red Wings play in December. It's so bad that the Detroit Lions messed up my hopes for any team to watch in January or February. I am now looking forward to watching the Detroit Tigers spring season in Lakeland, Florida in December. Now, losing on Christmas sucks. I had a great Christmas, by the way. Great Christmas. Daughter had a great Christmas. She got everything she wanted. I got almost everything I wanted. But then 4:30 happened, and the Detroit Lions played in Minnesota and shit the bed. Losing on Christmas sucks. I'm going to tell the NFL to stop doing Christmas games. All Christmas games should be flexed. And there should only be 2 games on Christmas. Only 2 games on Christmas. And it should be the 4 best teams in the NFL playing on that day. Now, the NBA had 5 great games. 5 spectacular games. The NFL needs to work on their Christmas scheduling because every one of those games were snooze fests. The NFL was like, you can watch our games if you want to, but we know you want to spend time with your families. That's basically what they said to the American people. Because this last Christmas was even worse. But this Christmas, because the Lions were playing, we thought it was going to be okay. This is going to be our time. We got to win out. We got to win 2 games. We got to win Minnesota and in Chicago next week. How are you going to lose to a man who had 3 net passing yards? 3. Jared Goff had 5 interceptions yesterday, reminiscent of his Super Bowl appearance as part of the Rams with Sean McVay. I am going to get into him as well as many other things that are wrong with this organization during this show. I really am. Because losing on Christmas sucks. Losing on Christmas with your playoff hopes on the line is even worse. Yes, like I said, the Detroit Lions have squandered yet another season under Dan Campbell. But we really have to be honest with ourselves as Lions fans. The Detroit Lions play this year was just unacceptable. People were injured left and right. Dan Campbell took offensive coordinator duties from his offensive coordinator. We were being called the Legion of Whom by the press because we didn't know who was going to be on defense week to week. We had a third string center. Third string center. Because Glasgow was out and Fred Ragnow retired. Which I think was, when they released that news, I think all the teams that looked at us on our schedule were like, yeah, we got them now. Because if you go up the middle and Jared Goff doesn't have another option, you're just gonna sack him. You're just gonna get him down. Or he's gonna throw an interception or throw out of bounds because he can't throw to anybody else. Because he can't run either. He's not a mobile quarterback. That's one of the big problems with Jared Goff. And I will get into that later in the show. But with the Lions, it really starts with management, training, and coaching. And that's what I'm going to get into today, those 3 things. So we're going to start with the uncomfortable truth. The uncomfortable truth is that the Lions of Detroit, the Detroit Lions, are good. They're a good team. I'm not going to lie about that. I will say the truth objectively, not subjectively, objectively. Across the NFL, the Detroit Lions are a good team. And that might be the most dangerous place a franchise like this can be. Because once you're good, the excuses disappear. They should disappear. And suddenly the question isn't, are we headed in the right direction? It's about, are we built to finish the job? Clearly this year we weren't. Last year we had 15-2, but we couldn't finish the job. 3 years ago, we were in the NFC Championship after going 12-5. And we didn't finish the job. So what do the Detroit Lions really need? Let's talk about it. Because we are going to talk about some very specific things that people are talking about all around the Metro Detroit area. Big Detroit Lions fans are talking about, let's not fire Dan Campbell. Let's keep Jared Goff. We're going to talk about that today. Because someone's got to talk about it. Someone's got to talk about these 2 men objectively. Because you can't dodge it forever. Jared Goff is not the problem, but he might be the ceiling. And that's a hard thing for fans to hear, especially after everything he's done to stabilize this franchise. He helped drag this team out of the chaos era that was the Matt Patricia era. He gave Detroit competence. He gave us Sundays that mattered again. But this league doesn't reward stability. It rewards transcendence. Can you go above and beyond and finish the damn job? And Jared Goff, at his best, is a very good quarterback. And at his worst, he's exactly what we've been always fearing, a quarterback who needs everything around him to be perfect. The elite line, the elite run game, the elite play calling, a clean pocket, predictable situations. The moment that that crappy schedule and the structure cracks, or you have injuries everywhere, you have Glasgow as your center. Your center's now injured. Frank Ragnow left. Now your third string can't even give you the ball right. Pressure up the middle, timing disruption, game script is flipped. You can feel the offense tighten. Like the confidence drains, the margin shrinks. And here's the real question nobody wants to ask out loud. When the playoffs get weird, when the weather turns ugly, when a defense takes away your lead and covers everybody, do you trust Jared Goff to create a situation that wasn't there? If the Lions stay with Jared Goff, fine. But they better be honest about what that means. That means the rest of the roster has to be flawless, which it hasn't been the last 4 seasons. Yes, we have the pieces, but really, have the pieces really been there? Have the pieces actually done what they were supposed to do? And I'm not just talking about players. I'm talking about training staff, coaches, and the people up top. I'm talking about Sheila. I'm talking about Brad. And eventually we're going to talk about Dan Campbell later, but there are games where you can feel the script being read instead of written. There are adjustments that come late. You have to have creativity when you're a quarterback. And Jared Goff does not have that. He used to have it with Ben Johnson, but he left for Chicago. Now you have John Morton, the OC from Denver, coming over to Detroit. But the thing about year to year, when you're playing in a professional sports league or any sports league, it could be recreational, AAU, when you do something to a team, that team should understand how you play for the next time in the next year that you guys play. That's what literally every team did this year. And this team, the Detroit Lions, were not ready for it. And when it got bad, my man Dan Campbell, I can't even say his name right, Dan Campbell panicked and took away the OC job. In a very convenient time. He did it against the Washington Commanders, a team that, when we played them, weren't even going to the playoffs. They didn't even care. So, of course, we're going to look sexy against the Commanders of Washington, D.C. But then the next few weeks, we're facing really good teams, and now we can't run the ball. We can't pass the ball right. So it's not the OC's problem. It's not Dan Campbell's problem. It's the organization's problem. Detroit needs to either get a new offensive coordinator or a coordinator who's willing to evolve instead of protect what already works. Because what already works is dead. People know what you're going to do. You're either going to run it to Sonic and Knuckles, or you're going to play action to either Laporta or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, I'm calling out y'all plays right now. That's all they do. Look at the tape. Because what works in 2023 does not win in 2025, because teams know what to expect. They know what you're going to do. If I could say it on this podcast right now, if I could literally say your plays every time, what do you think a coach who's getting paid millions of dollars is doing? You don't beat elite defenses by being efficient. You beat them by being uncomfortable. More motion, more deception, more willingness to abandon balance when the moment demands aggression. Ben Johnson knew what to do. He studied spacing. He studied this stuff ever since he was in college at NC. So, yeah, him leaving left a lot to be desired in Detroit. The Lions have invested in their defense as well. Draft picks, free agents, resources. But too often, the defense looks very confused when it matters most. And I'm going to give you a prime example this year of what I am talking about. Let's go back to the last holiday. Let's go back to Thanksgiving, because we also played on Thanksgiving. The Green Bay Thanksgiving game exposed us, like really bad. Like every touchdown that Green Bay threw, because every touchdown was a passing touchdown, the cornerbacks, missed their assignments. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks. Like, are you kidding me? Green Bay was the most ridiculous. Like, we are supposed to walk into Ford Field on Thanksgiving and give them the business because we're trying to go to the playoffs. Green Bay was the unpredictable juggernaut in that game. And the Lions were caught off guard because playoff football is a chess match. And right now, the Lions sometimes look like they're reacting instead of dictating. It's crazy. Our defense needs help. Our offense needs help. And this one's going to ruffle a few feathers. Every team deals with injuries, right? But when injuries become a pattern, like they have with the Detroit Lions for the past 3 years, you have to start asking the harder questions. Training staff, recovery protocols, practice intensity, load management. Football culture loves to say, and Dan Campbell loves to say this, he loves to say, next man up, which is okay if you're playing in a beer league. Championship organizations say, how do we keep our best man available instead of next man up? Detroit has too many key players breaking down at the worst possible moments. And at some point, you stop blaming luck and start auditing your systems. Include better trainers, better recovery, better planning. Availability is a skill. And right now, it's one of the most horrible, like it's one of the most crazy things for the last 3 years. Like the Lions have not mastered how to keep their people healthy. Like someone could be on the sideline the entire game, one game, and then next week they're like, oh, they're inactive because their toe hurts. Like what? What happened last week? That's the Detroit Lions. Terrion Arnold out. Barnes out. Brian Branch out. Like, come on, y'all. Come on. And another thing that the Detroit Lions haven't mastered yet is their damn ticket prices. Yeah, I'm talking about the ticket prices. This is the first year I have not went to a Detroit Lions game. Because where I usually sit, the prices were like $700, $1,000. And I haven't even paid for parking or concessions yet. Detroit Lions need to master their ticket prices. And some people think that this has nothing to do with football. They're wrong. They're dead wrong. There's something powerful about the everyday fan being able to be in the building. Not corporate noise, not influencer rows, not people checking their emails between downs. Real fans of the game. People who saved up their money. People who grew up in the Metro Detroit area. People who live and die with each snap. Ford Field should not feel like a luxury experience. It shouldn't feel like a luxury experience first and a football cathedral second. Detroit's magic has always come from its people. When the building is full of actual fans. Because when the building is full of actual fans, the energy changes, the pressure changes, the identity changes. This team represents a city that knows struggle. The stands should reflect that, not price it out. Now, this is the real hard question in Detroit right now. Should Dan Campbell go? Because it feels almost ungrateful to even ask it sometimes because he has changed the culture. Dan Campbell has changed the culture. He gave this team an identity. He made players believe. He made fans care again. And that matters. That really does matter. However, and this is a huge however, the NFL doesn't hand out Lombardis for vibes. And at some point, you have to separate who's someone like, are you going to be there just to build up a team and say, hey, we can do this and turn the franchise around? Or are you trying to win a championship? Because there's two different things. At some point, you have to separate who someone is from the job and what it requires. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Dan Campbell is an elite motivator. He made me want to get on the field. Okay? Put me in, coach. Like, Dan Campbell can make you sell ice cream in hell. That's how good of a motivator he is. He's a great motivator. He's an elite motivator. But in those 60 minutes at Ford Field or on the road, he doesn't put his team in the best position to win. And if you want to win a championship, you have to put your team in the best position to win the damn game. Motivation only gets you so far once the margin gets thin. People like to oversimplify this and say, well, that's just Dan being aggressive. That's Dan being Dan. It's Dan Gamble. He's doing him. That's what we do. No, aggression isn't the issue. Timing is the issue. Great coaches like myself know when to push and when to take the points. They understand momentum. They understand clock. They understand field position, psychology, not just gut instinct. Too often, Dan Campbell coaches like the game is still about proving belief instead of protecting leverage. Fourth down calls that feel emotional instead of situational. Decisions that energize the sideline, but quietly keep and help the opponent stay alive. Like, 3 examples. I'm going to give you 3 examples of this in case y'all think I'm crazy talking about Dan Campbell like this. 3 examples. I already talked about the NFC Championship game in a previous episode. How we were up 24-7 and blew a lead. Okay? They blew a 3-score lead. We were up by 17. 17 points. All we had to do was get more points and go to the Super Bowl. Great coaches know when to push and take the points. Last year, the Detroit Lions went 15-2. What happened in those 2 losses? Dan gambled and lost the games. Yes, I said it. The Detroit Lions could have been the first team to lose all their games, which they did in 2008, which Dan Campbell was on that team in 2008, to go 0-16 and be the first team to do that and the first team to win all their games with 17-0. But what exactly happened in those two losses? So game 2 against Tampa Bay, the Lions are down 16-20. Okay. On their drive to win the game. All they got to do is score a touchdown. Their main man, Amon-Ra St. Brown, was taken out the game by Dan Campbell. Your number one receiver was taken out the game in the second game of the season. Not only did you use your final timeout too early, you took out your best receiver in a game which could have had you at 17-0 for the season. You costed them the game, Dan Campbell, because you don't know clock management and having all your personnel out there to win the damn game. That's just the second example. The first example was the NFC Championship that we blew. And the second one was the game 2 against Tampa Bay. Now we're going to skip forward 12 games to the game 14 against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo has a horrible defense. They do have a really good offense. So the Lions were down by 10 points in the fourth quarter. We just scored to get back. We were down by 17, but then we came back, scored a touchdown, field goal, boom, boom, boom. Now we're down by 10. Dan Campbell elects to go for the onside kick with 12 minutes left in the damn quarter. Not only did they get and recover the ball, they took the ball 25 yards to the 5. So let me get this straight, Dan Campbell. You're going to give the ball back to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills at your 30 when you're down by 10 points and you just scored? And people are saying, oh, we have a bad defense. We just want to get the points real quick. No. You don't give the ball back to one of the best offenses in the league. You kick it to their side of the field and stop them, which if you look at the box score from that game, look it up, 2024 against Buffalo in 2024, the Detroit defense stopped the Buffalo Bills in the fourth quarter. So if you didn't kick the field goal, not the field goal, if you didn't kick the onside kick and let them score right away after we just scored, that last pass to J-Mo at the end of the game would have won the game because we scored twice in the fourth quarter. We could have won that game without the onside kick. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to Dan Campbell. Because my fear isn't in the regular season. My fear is in just the regular season and the playoffs. In the playoffs, you don't need to prove you're fearless. That's what Dan Campbell did in the NFC Championship game. If you're up by 3 scores in the NFC Championship, all you have to do is do what you need to do, which is take points and stop the other team. Make them work by scoring more. If you don't score more, you're helping them because now they know that they can beat you. And that's exactly what the San Francisco 49ers did. In the playoffs, you don't need to prove that you're fearless. You need to be precise. You need to be precise. Game management. What would a Super Bowl team do in that situation? The real debate in Detroit has to have, is Dan Campbell a program builder or a championship closer? Those are not always the same coach. Some coaches are incredible at dragging organizations out the mud. They establish standards. They reset expectations. They make losing unacceptable. But once the foundation is built, the job must change. It's now about clock control, matchup exploitation, adjustments under pressure, killing games when you're ahead. And that's where the question starts to pile up. When Detroit is up big, do you feel calm? Do you really feel at ease? Or do you feel like the door is still cracked open? That anxiety fans feel isn't trauma. Like myself, I'm a Detroit Lions fan. When we're up, it's like, are they really up? Or are they going to let the league go and blow it? This is pattern recognition. If Campbell insists on doing it his way every time, regardless of the situation, then yeah, the clock starts ticking because stubbornness kills more contenders than talent ever does. So does he have to go? Does Dan Campbell have to go? No, not yet. But the leash is shorter than people want to admit it. This can't be who he is, quote unquote. This can't be, oh, it's Dan Campbell. That's who he is. We gamble all the time. We go for fourth down. It has to become, who is he willing to evolve into? He got the job. He got us to 15-2. He got us almost, he was knocking on the door of the Super Bowl. How can we get back to that? And once you get back to that, can you make the right decisions so we can't repeat what just happened when we didn't go to the Super Bowl? We need precision. We need restraint. We need killer instinct with a calculator. If Dan Campbell can grow into that, great. We're going to win a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl berth. But if he can't, then the most painful truth of all becomes unavoidable. Sometimes the coach who saves the franchise is not the coach who finishes the story. Sad truth, but it has to be said. It really has to be said. I will close today's episode by going over five important qualities that all championship teams have in common. Okay? They all have in common. All these teams have the same thing in common. And maybe, just maybe, the Detroit Lions are listening. Detroit Lions fans, Detroit management, you know, if you're listening to the podcast, like, y'all should follow suit, because if we don't have these five qualities, we might as well just bring the prices back down and go back to cheering for our backup teams. Because at this point, I don't think they want to win a championship. I think they just want to make money at this point. So, unless they prove me wrong, here are five qualities that the Detroit Lions need. These are five qualities that all championship teams have. Number one, they close games ruthlessly. Championship games and championship teams have standards. You can't be in the championship game and get your ass whooped. Championship teams don't just let leads go away. They end the game. When they're up by 2 scores, you feel it in the building. The tension shifts. The opponent knows the window is closing, not opening. That means smart clock management, taking the points when they matter, and eliminating momentum swings. Great teams don't ask, how do we stay aggressive? Championship teams ask, how do we make this impossible for them to come back? Closing is a skill, and it separates contenders from champions every single year in every single sport. Number two, their identity holds under pressure. Anyone can look tough when things are going well. Championship teams look the same when they're trailing, when the crowd is hostile, when the plan has failed, when the moment is bigger than the script. They don't abandon who they are. They redefine it. Physical teams stay physical. Creative teams stay creative. Smart teams stay disciplined. Pressure doesn't expose championships and champions. It confirms them. Number three, they win the chaos moments. Every playoff game has 5 to 7 plays that make no sense. Like literally no sense. Okay? A tip pass, busted coverage, a weird bounce, sudden turnover. Championships teams don't panic. They stabilize. They line up fast. They don't compound mistakes. They respond with execution, not emotion. Losing teams, however, let chaos define the game, and it shows in their play. Championship teams absorb the chaos, and they move on. Examples of this would be the New England Patriots Super Bowl comeback. And we had the Barcelona down on aggregate versus PSG in the Champions League game. Like they came back down by like 5 points. They scored 6 points in that game and won the damn thing. So understand that winning in the chaos moments matter. Number 4, their stars are their best players when it matters most. Championship moments don't belong to nice stories. They belong to your best players stepping forward when everything is on the line. Quarterbacks make plays off script. Defensive leaders force mistakes. Skill players win one-on-ones when everyone else knows the ball is coming. Depth matters too, but titles are won when stars transcend them, not just operate inside it. The best teams don't hide their stars late. Amon-Ra St. Brown. They lean on the team. And number 5, coaching adjusts faster than the opponent. Championship teams are often decided between drives, not between weeks and months. They change coverage shells mid-game. They abandon what's not working immediately, and they attack weaknesses the moment they're exposed. This is where preparation meets humility. Great coaches aren't married to their plan. They're married to winning the next 10 minutes. When the game flips, champions flip it faster. So those are my 5 qualities that all championship teams have. So what do the Lions really need? What do they need? Detroit doesn't need patience anymore. Detroit needs bold decisions. And the hardest part, some of those decisions will hurt people we like. But that's the price of finally wanting more than just relevance. The answer isn't to panic. And it's not to blindly be behind the Lions, like blind loyalty. It's not that either. The Lions don't need to tear this whole thing down. They need to decide what they're actually chasing. Are they chasing $1,000 seats for a man who doesn't know when to take the points? Or do they want a championship? If the goal is relevance, they're already there. If the goal is being liked, they've won that too. But if the goal is championships, real championships, then comfort can't be part of the plan. You need to make the hard questions Is this quarterback good enough when things break down? Is Jared Goff good enough when things break down? I don't know. Is this coaching staff built to close games, not just inspire belief? For the past 4 years, I beg to differ. Are we protecting leads with intelligence, not emotion? 4 years, still haven't seen it. Are we maximizing this window or just hoping it stays open? I really think we're hoping that it stays open. I don't think we're maximizing a goddamn thing. And that's just the coach in me. Because if I was coaching this team, we'd have at least 3 appearances in the Super Bowl and 2 wins, maybe back to back. You never know. Detroit waited decades to matter again. Decades. Our last NFL championship was 1957. That was before my mom was born. Hell, my grandma was 12 years old in 1957. Now that they do matter again, they can't afford to waste a moment by being sentimental. The teams that win don't hesitate. They evolve. They make decisions before the league forces their hand. The Lions are so close, closer than they've ever been in most of our lifetimes. But close is no longer the standard. It is no longer the goddamn standard. So whatever they do next, whether it's sticking with their quarterback, reshaping the staff, or redefining how they finish games, it has to be done with one thing in mind. Banners don't care how the story feels. They only care how it ends. People don't care how you got to a championship banner. When you see a banner in a sports stadium, it shows that they have conquered. They have reached the mountaintop. And Detroit's story isn't done yet. But the next chapter will tell us if this was a rise or a missed opportunity. And that's all I got to say about the Detroit Lions. That has been another episode of the Kris versus Everybody podcast. If you like this show or want to hear me talk more about sports or politics, or it's just stuff that I like to talk about, please hit the like button and subscribe button. Please click the notification bell to be notified of new episodes every week. Shop my merch, KrisCrossCorner.com. And follow the podcast on Instagram, Kris versus Everybody Show on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, _Kris versus Everybody _. It is December 27th. I am going to hibernate for a few weeks, and then I will be back with another episode. So stay tuned for that. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Be safe this new year. See y'all next time.